Hey, folks, this podcast is brought to you by Parlay Play Fantasy Sports. Use my referral code RotoBrady. Get that sweet, sweet deposit bonus. They've got paid contests coming to a state near you, probably a territory, probably a nation near you. And hopping those players, they're giving out boosts and bonuses. They're slashing lines all day long. Check it out. Those player prop DFS contests. It's a real fun platform over there. Jesus. And what is up, everybody? This is Brady Grove bringing you another interlude episode of the Tap That MMA podcast. We are fresh off UFC Mexico City last night. Check out my recent interlude episodes. We got more on the books. Follow me on Twitter at RotoBrady. Follow the podcast at Tap That MMA Podcast on YouTube and Spotify, now available on Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music. And with me today,
Here we go with the official decision.
About 12 by unanimous decision comes from the blue corner, Chris.
Amazing performance. There's Borba.
this guy is a 1-0 amateur super heavyweight and is coming off of a fun grappling match that happened just yesterday. Give it up, everybody, for Chris, the Cali Reaper, Borba. Chris, thank you so much for being here. How's it going, man?
Good. Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. And first and foremost, because the result is not up anywhere I've been able to find yet, how did the grappling match with Sean Wisenbarger end up going at Valhalla MMA yesterday?
It ended up not going my way. I ended up losing in sudden death. It was actually my first ever grappling match for submission, so it was a cool experience. Now I know what to expect in those, so it was a really good learning experience, especially from a high level guy like that, being ranked number one in the nation as a that amateur heavyweight. It gave me nothing but knowledge to know what I'm going into.
And it was unique circumstances too. Is it right that it was 10 minutes, one round? And what were the weight specifications for the fight? Because I know that Sean Weisenbarger has mostly been just a regular heavyweight. That he's held, like, I think 3 amateur heavyweight titles in his career.
Yeah, so the way the round worked, it was 6 minutes, and if no one could submit anybody, then we went to sudden death, and they made us ride back. So you had like a seatbelt and then your boots in, and whoever held in the longest won the sudden death. He was able to hold me a little bit longer than I could hold him, so that's how I ended up losing the match.
Well, I mean, that is seriously not a bad result to have against that dude. I mean, legitimately, 6-1 as an amateur in MMA as a heavyweight, 5 wins by knockout, one by submission, and like I said, he had held the Tampa Bay Fight Night, the Valhalla MMA, and the Combat Quest heavyweight championships. So that was really good competition, even if it was just competitive grappling for your second competitive amateur bout in combat sports.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I appreciate the opportunity he gave me. I mean, I'm a nobody in this fight game, and for him to give me that opportunity, I really appreciate all that.
Like Valhalla seems to mix it up a lot with their events. I know that there's a lot of amateur Muay Thai and grappling. That's an interesting promotion. So, like, first off, I know obviously your nickname is the Cali Reaper. What ended up bringing you to Florida?
So I was supposed to come play football straight out of high school out here. I got an uncle that lives out here, and I fell in love with the state, man. Less drama from I'm from a hood kid from California, man. So there's a lot less drama out here than there is where I'm from. And I was just kind of looking for peace, and I found that in Florida. So that's what made me come out here.
That's crazy. And it says like I guess it says a decent amount of like about certain areas of California that you found peace in the state of Florida. That might sound like a shocking sentence to a lot of people, but like if some states are for some people and some people prefer other places. So it's cool. And there's obviously a ton of combat sports opportunities that are in Florida. It's hard to go more than 5 miles without finding another regional promotion or another, MMA gym that serves a lot of people.
Definitely, man. You can throw a rock and probably hit somewhere to land. There's one. I bet you, like, if you wanted to, you can fight every weekend. There's always something happening.
So What is your obviously? So you said that you were like coming out to Florida to play football. So where were you at first committed to play football, and then did you have any sort of combat sports background prior to starting training and beginning your amateur career?
Yeah, so I was supposed to come play football at Southern Florida. I was talking to the coach when I was out there. Um, I've wrestled my whole life. I've been wrestling since I was 5 years old. It's in the blood. My whole family wrestled. So if you didn't wrestle, you were kind of weird in the family. So it was just an avenue that I had to take. I was a lot better at wrestling than I was football, but I loved football more. And wrestling ended up paying my college. I ended up going to college at Simpson University. Wrestled in college, paid my schooling, got my degree. Wrestling has opened so many avenues for me. I mean, I stopped competing in 2020 when COVID hit. Um, got super fat. I was weighing 409, like maybe I want to say in like August of last year, I was weighing 409, and now I'm down to 302. So that wrestling, I'm getting ready for the U.S. Open in April. I already registered, already got my tickets booked, everything. So I'm competing in the U.S. Open April 22nd.
Damn. Okay. So is the US Open, is that just like what it sounds like for wrestling? Like people who anybody who like wants to compete and like can qualify for it, like are like going and wrestling in the US Open?
The U.S. Open is literally the best of the best. Like if you place at the U.S. Open, you qualify for the World Trials. Like it's
Okay.
the feeder program, yeah. So U.S. Open, World Trials, Olympic Trials.
So do you have to qualify for the US Open? Like how does that work?
It helps. You can put a bid in and like you can register, but sometimes you don't get in because you got like all the top guys from the NCAA going to it. They have a bunch of world medalists going to it.
Okay, that's wild. And like it's very apparent from your one amateur MMA fight that you have a wrestling background. It was like at super heavyweight, especially in the amateur ranks, you don't normally see high levels of skill. That regional promotions put on. A lot of the time, the reason that the super heavyweight division has suffered over years is because a lot of those fights weren't high quality. In your case, you were able to get the takedowns rather quickly into the round. You controlled for the entirety of those rounds, pretty much from start to finish. You were constantly working for submissions from side control, and your ground and pound was consistent through all three rounds. You land and obviously, you seemed like you were tired, but certainly you did not gas out going the distance at super heavyweight.
No, believe it or not, yeah. In that fight, I was weighing 341. I was still getting used to that weight loss from being 409 to 341. Cardio wise, I probably could have went another 3 rounds. Um, the cardio just keeps getting better as I drop the weight. Um, it's just it's a new experience because you got to put your striking with your grappling now, and like I am comfortable with my grappling. My striking was my downfall, but now I've been working with Nick Ficetti and a bunch of guys to work on my striking. So I want to be able to control whether I want to stand or bang or go to the ground and take it to the ground and pound.
And there's not like a big, previous career resume for Aaron Virgo that, I can draw from. But at the very least, like with your striking, you at least used it effectively to close distance and, then transition into the wrestling. Like you moved forward quick and agile on your feet with like your jab and, ended up getting to his legs. And he had absolutely no answer for it. And that was apparent from the first 30 seconds of that fight was that there was going to be no answer for it. And the only question then was how you were going to end up winning. I don't usually speak that conclusively about fights, but sometimes like in that first 30 seconds you got the takedowns, like I don't think this dude is going to be able to get up whenever Chris Borga puts him on his back.
Yeah, man. It's a different pressure. You wrestle in college, you know. It's a different pressure when you get to the higher levels, obviously. I mean, there's a big jump. So if you don't have any of that type of background, I mean, there's a lot of people that say they wrestled in high school, but in a college room, everybody's good. Everybody's a state champion, everybody's a state placer. So you got to be the best of the best to even start on the team. A lot of people haven't felt that before, and I've noticed in this fight game, a lot of people don't know how to handle wrestlers. Granted, people wrestled in high school, like I was saying, but there's not a lot of high level college guys coming in to wrestle and starting to do MMA. But like if you look at the Contender Series, there's a lot of those guys like that guy that just won, I think 2 weeks ago. He's like NCAA All American from Ohio or something, and he knocked that dude out. So they weren't expecting that. He went from a shooting to a takedown to knocking the guy out. So a lot of wrestlers are coming up in the MMA thing for sure.
Yeah, and like it's not like a lot of former college wrestlers, high level ones, are going to end up being, elite level kickboxers necessarily, but their body from usually a young age has been conditioned for like very well to transition to the MMA game. And at the very least, like, might not end up elite eight limb strikers or whatever, but certainly can develop very strong boxing weapons and, can learn how to set up some really powerful finishing shots.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of people don't realize wrestlers, we roll all the time. So like getting the dazed, getting the shooken up, that's normal for us, especially rolling, doing like freestyle. You're gonna be dizzy while you're rolling, and you still got to keep going. So that's what you see like wrestlers get dazed and chin checked, and all of a sudden they're shooting them for a takedown. They're taking people down. They're like, "How is he still going?" We're used to rolling, so we're used to that. Our heads spinning all the time already.
And it was always interesting. Like Bellator would, it seemed like it was a part of their business plan where they were starting high level college wrestlers off from day one of their pro careers, and sometimes they didn't even have an amateur MMA career. And so their first MMA fight was a pro MMA fight in Bellator. So they invested heavily in college level wrestlers, the ones that had had a lot of success. And to your point about like the difference between high school and college wrestlers, I would imagine that there is also a very big gap in like what that says about the person's commitment level. Like what kind of commitment it is. In high school, there's a lot less to take your attention away from wrestling, and it's I would imagine it's a different level of commitment. I would imagine for college wrestlers, there's a lot other stuff you could be doing in college besides cutting weight and going and wrestling and putting your body through hell for those portions of your time. You're on your own. You can go and for the most part, you can eat what you want. You can be out at any time wherever you want. So I'd imagine for college wrestlers that you just know that there's a different commitment level for someone who made it past the high school level.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, like college is I don't mean to cuss on your podcast.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
all good.
job. It's a job, man. It's a fucking job. Like I told this story on my Instagram, but I'll tell you, like I had it cut from 325 to 285 in a week, and it wasn't fun. It sucked ass. I was putting ice cubes in my mouth to get some sort of like I had so much dryness from cutting weight. I just wanted to get moisture in my mouth and not have to spit the water out. Like, there's a lot of stuff that cutting weight behind the scenes, a lot of like fans don't realize that happen just to be able to perform in front of people at nighttime.
So about with your career in MMA and with the super heavyweight division overall. So this is an era in the sport where the heavyweight division is in kind of a flux. And it's unfortunate that it trickles down to the regional levels, but like right now at the top of the UFC heavyweight division, things are weird as hell. And it seems to have a ripple effect all the way through the sport, across the world. So the heavyweight division's in a weird spot. Super heavyweight is something that, like, in Japan, they used to put on banger super heavyweight fights, and people would label them freak show fights sometimes, sure. But when you're talking about the Korean Giant, when you're talking about Butterbean, like, those are dudes that were legitimately skilled and just happened to be above the heavyweight limit. And Japan still, like with their roots in sumo wrestling, there's a lot of possibilities. I always think, still for super heavyweight. In a place like Japan, I think in the right matchups would kind of always be into it. A while ago, I don't know if you know who Trap Gambino is. Um, he's like he does like the I think it's called Made Fight League and stuff. Like he went viral a while ago for being on Dr. Phil. He's an interesting fellow, but like he fought at super heavyweight, and this was kind of something I was talking to him about. Um, so it's a time when people are really down on heavyweight. Heavyweight's looking for prospects that can break through to the top levels, and super heavyweight is something that's hard to find, and even harder to find fights of quality at super heavyweight. So, what has been the challenges to you so far in finding opportunities at super heavyweight? And is the plan eventually to get down to 265, or do you think that is like in the realm of possibility?
Yeah, man. I get why people talk bad about super heavyweights. I've seen a lot of the fights. It's a bunch of like dads that drink beer and they're like, I can fight in the cage. There's not much skill there. I get it. The only reason I started at super heavyweight is because I just wanted to jump into the MMA thing. So like, I was fat dude. So that was the only option. I'm not gonna be at 265 overnight. So I was starting to cut. I'll take as many super heavyweight fights as I can up until the U.S. Open in April. I'll be at 285 because that's what the weight class is, and then I'll drop down to 265. I'm hoping to be at 265 around like August because there's no pro promotions giving super heavyweight fights. So if you want to go pro, you need to get down to 265. It's just a business scale. I mean, I think they should have a weight class from 285 to 300, just like they should have somewhere in between 205 and 265. They should have another weight class in there. That's a big jump. But it's a sport. I get it. They got to have some type of rules to follow, or else they won't get sanctioned. So I get it.
And I mean, it's crazy with super heavyweight. And like I think we both get why people talk bad about super heavyweight, why they don't give it a chance. The thing is, I think that in the past we have seen what super heavyweight can be capable of. Now, like, there's not many dudes ever that are like Butterbean. Like that is a very unique body type, a very unique athlete in boxing, and no, that dude picked up MMA like impressively quick.
Yeah.
Like that dude won like I think one or two fights by submission over in Japan. There's play, and I would think too in 2026 there would be a good amount of people in a similar situation to you. Like I'm sure there's plenty of former, people who played college football, wrestled in college, and for whatever reason, like they ended up, at 285 or higher. I would think there'd be more people out there like that. Just like I would think there would be more heavyweights right now that would be able to break through to the upper levels, but prospects have had a real problem, doing that lately. Um, and where was I going with that? Damn it to hell. Um, Super heavyweight opportunities. Shit, dude. Well, I'm a big supporter too of like there should be bridgerweight and or cruiserweight. Cruiserweight probably the more necessary one. There should be more weight classes in MMA. I think we're ultimately headed there. I think the number one concern for everybody is you don't want it to necessarily be boxing where there's 4 to 12 champions per every 4 pounds that you go up and down. Um, but I think that that's on its way at some point, at least cruiserweight. There's so many good fighters over the years that missed out on big opportunities because they fell in a weird in between area. Imagine if Mirko Cro Cop had been, in a time in MMA when there was a cruiserweight division in the UFC. Who knows what, UFC history then looks like after that. But that could then open the door to 285 to 300. So it's just wild, like I wish, and I know that there's got to be more people out there that are capable of putting on good super heavyweight fights. And I think Japan would again be another like good source of that. And probably Africa too, I'm sure has a lot of people that meet those qualifications. It's just not everybody in your situation then commits to MMA full time. That's a hard commitment to make.
Yeah, man, it's hard to wake up every day and be like, yeah, I want to get punched in the face or I want to get kicked in the face. It's definitely a toll on your body. Like, I was reading a study saying that um, I think guys think they can fight 400 times better than they really can. And then they come to the gym thinking that it's the UFC and they watch the UFC fights. Oh, I can do this flying knee. And all of a sudden they're tripping on their own feet trying to go backwards when you're jabbing them in the face. Um, it's everybody thinks they're a fighter till they are, which I think that's where it falls short on people. They don't want to be humbled. They don't want to put themselves out there because if they put themselves out there, then everybody knows that they can't fight. Because I see a lot of big guys hide behind their size, like even in the community, especially with my job, not knowing that there's people out here that is like I got a buddy. His name's John. He works IT. He's a brown belt. Like you would not guess this guy can choke you with your arm and or his leg. Like when you see him.
It's crazy that like the way most of the world would see like any fight, whether it's like a sanctioned fight, a fight in a bar, or whatever, the way a lot of the world sees fights is like, that guy shouldn't fight that guy. Like that guy's like 6'2", and that guy's like 5'10". It's like, dude, all I need to know is which one of these guys has been punched in the face before. Like it,
Mhm.
that is a different thing. That I think everybody thinks they know what it's like to throw a heavy punch and land. Everybody thinks they know what it's like to get punched in the face and in the head and teeped in the solar plexus like over and over again or whatever, but it's a very big difference when you actually get hit. And so yeah, like in public, the way the layman people see fights is crazy because there's a big difference when people, a lot like you said, bigger people, a lot of people, those dudes have never had to be in a fight before. Their size has always been the best self defense that like they could ever have. But if you've never had to be in a fight of any sort before, then once you're actually in it, like it's a very different thing.
Most definitely, man. Like Mike Tyson said it best. Everybody has a plan till you get punched in the mouth. And that sits home with me so much because, like I said, I wrestled in college, and then coming into jiu-jitsu, you roll with these black belts, man. Like my coach is Yuri Simone, who's like a four-time champion, a world champ, and he's like a fucking backpack. I can't get him off my back. I get out of something, and all of a sudden he's fucking in another thing, and it's just like he chains everything together so well. So that was like my welcome to the NFL moment. Like, welcome to the big leagues, buddy. You're not as good as you thought you were. Um, Granted, like I would never came in with a chip over my shoulder. I'm a sponge. Always want to learn. Never had a high horse on anything. Um, but he's good. He's a good coach because he puts you like, all right, you're getting better, but just letting you know, you're still down here. You got to come up a little bit more.
It's always a good hallmark of a coach when they also like let you know what you're doing right, because when you're trying to absorb so much information, if you don't know what's actually going well and what you're doing right, then you don't know what to not change moving forward. And like to people who might not know, when you are in jujitsu and you're rolling with somebody who is vastly more experienced and way better at jujitsu, it is like trying to speak Mandarin to somebody who is from China and you don't know any words in Mandarin. Like that's it may be like a few phrases and you're trying to get through a conversation. It's like I don't even know what you're doing past like the first word. And so like it really is like being like at the beginning stages of a language against somebody who is fluent in a language. Jiu-jitsu is weird like that. It's a language that your body learns to speak.
Yeah, definitely, man. Like I said, roll with my coaches. Zach Allen's another black belt, good black belt. It's like almost like you have a skin tight shirt on and it's wet and you're trying to get it off you and you're just getting stuck in different dumb positions. Like he choked me out with my own arm and I've never had that before. And it was like some weird thing in the gi with the it was like an X choke or something. It was crazy. And I've never felt that before, never wore a gi before. And it made me think like, I should probably learn this. which got me more into jiu-jitsu and more of like a student of the game. So like now we watch film and stuff together. So you gotta work on your craft. And the coaches I have with Nick Fichetti, Yuri, Zach, it's helping me a lot, especially with like the jiu-jitsu aspect.
Now, like with your athletic background, like first of all, you're certainly an athlete. You know, anybody who watched your first amateur fight can tell that you have athleticism, regardless of the weight class that you're in. You understand body control and timing. What have been the issues? Like, what have been the challenges that you've experienced in trying to pick up as much striking as you can?
Um, the patience of striking is my problem. Being a wrestler, it's take, 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 take. You take what you want. Striking is more like an art, like finessing, like, all right, let me slip. Here comes a hook, slip, slip, overhand. Stuff like that makes it took me a while to understand that where I was like, yeah, I'll get punched in the face if I can land one and get to the legs. You know, like it reminds me of like Rocky. Rocky's like getting punched like 15 times to land that overhand. That was me in the very beginning. They're like, move your head. I was like, no, no, I can take the punches to the face. Until like after sparring, I'm like, I kind of got a headache right now. They're like, yeah, you got hit fucking 20 times directly in the face. So that um, slowing things down, actually moving, getting your head off the center line, stuff like that. That's what took me a little while.
Now, another thing that I appreciate just from seeing like your profile on Instagram, and folks, follow him on Instagram at the_Cali_Reaper_MMA. Also, check out the link provided on his Instagram profile if you're interested in an official Cali Reaper shirt. And you're good at like promoting yourself. You embody kind of like a real California flavor, and it like it's distinct. It's something that has kind of always been in MMA, like from, even from like the Tito Ortiz days and Uriah Faber, like people who have a California flavor to them, like are marketable, and you do good at promoting yourself. So what do you think are going to be like the opportunities that arise for the rest of 2026? I know that you've got the US Open on the horizon, but what are your thoughts or your plans as to, what's next in mixed martial arts for this year?
So I was already talking to the promoter, the guy I went against last night, goes to that gym for the promotion. So the promoter came up to me and he's like, hey, man, June 13th, whatever you want to do, we'll do. Because we put on a good show. So there's a lot of promotions coming up, hitting me up. Like I think just this morning I woke up to like 5 different promotions hitting me up, trying to get me on their card. So I'll probably take something in June, probably August, something October, December. And in Florida, you need 4 or 5 amateur fights to go pro. I want my last amateur fight next year, probably around February, to be in like overseas somewhere, and then end with a bang, and then go pro from there.
Oh, look, there's a picture of you and Tito Ortiz on your Instagram profile.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at that. Um, Now, like, are you still with Aftershock Management?
So that was like it was a flare. It was a buddy that was going to the gym. It was something like a startup, and it kind of just fell by the wayside. So
Okay.
it's just mostly been me and my coach Nick Fichetti. Like someone will shoot me a message like, "Hey, we got a fight for you." I'll shoot it. I'll shoot it to my coach and be like, "What do you think?" Nick Fichetti is a badass dude. He's like a world team member, so he's like, "Well, fuck, if you're down, I'm down," type of guy. So that's been a lot real joy because he doesn't really have me back down from anything.
It's weird at like these stages of people's fight careers, the way that you kind of like, have to manage yourself a lot of the time, or like, it's the people that run your gyms that are mostly doing the management. And regional MMA promotions can be a real mixed bag in the first place. So it's kind of weird trying to find your own opportunities, or taking ones that come along. Some promoters are way better than others, as I'm sure is quite evident on the Florida MMA scene.
Oh, absolutely, man. Like I had my teammate on this last card to fight with me, but he fought at like some barbecue spot and like we warmed up in gravel. And like I swear, I'm not shitting you. It almost looked like here comes the boom. There was like chickens running around, and I was like, where the hell are we, dude? It was like somewhere in Hudson, Florida. No offense to Hudson, never been there. Probably won't go back again. But it's crazy. And then yesterday we fought at a resort. So we were at a resort yesterday. 2 months ago, we were fighting in a fucking parking lot, and then everything in between in Florida. That's the promotions out here.
Ballrooms, convention centers, barbecue spots. No place is safe from mixed martial arts happening in Florida. So, Chris, this has been a very fun conversation, enlightening. And so, if there's anything else that you want to say or anybody else you want to shout out, the floor is yours.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you having me on. Like you said, follow me on Instagram. I put a lot of personal stuff there that you see behind the scenes. Like you guys ask questions, I answer them. Open book. I want to give a shout out to UC Gym Largo, UC Gym Pinellas Park. Those are the gyms I train at. Nick Ficetti, Yuri Simone, Zach Allen. I appreciate all you guys. Stay tuned. Watch my Instagram because there'll be more games. Sorry about my dogs.
Now, all good, man. And folks, this has been another interlude episode of the Tap That MMA podcast. We've been here today with Chris, the Cali Reaper Borba. Keep an eye on him and what happens in the for his career over the rest of 2026. Thank you all so much for listening. Follow Chris on Instagram. Buy a Cali Reaper shirt. Have yourselves a great week and peace.